created a really unique situation of higher volumes and obviously more challenges to support those volumes. Yeah. And, I'd say that, in preparation for those things, forecasting has never been more important, right? Forecasting and then the clear reporting and visibility of work status is critical. So to be successful with those types of conditions, and I think as you said it, we do it all the time. We go right from open enrollment to thinking about next year's open enrollment, and our plans are doing it. It's a constant lessons learned and how do we apply best practices moving forward. And I think we have to become accommodated, just like we have over the last 2 years, that some of the elements from this year, good or bad, might become the norm moving forward. So forecasting and understanding, how our plans are doing, where are they within their forecasted enrollments, cross lines of business from Medicare Advantage to commercial to individual, and how the cadence of that work will flow through, take it those 8 weeks is really, really critical, because everything else gets aligned to that. Where do you need your labor? Where are you with your inventory? And then where are you with your planning to be able to take in the work and move the work through a calendar that meets the expectations of your clients?
And so, I think about, I use a sports analogy of the weather affects both teams on the field. And so some of these macroeconomic and other macro factors were sort of affecting the entirety of the industry. And we start to think about, let's pick preparation and forecasting off the shelf and say, what is it that Clarity is trying to do to make that the easiest bridge over to a successful OE? In other words, where we having conversations or investing in technologies that make Clarity really a bellwether of how it's done right?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's all in the planning and the preparation and the communication. And so using Clarity has always been focused exclusively into the healthcare space. So we have the benefit of, now close to 15 years of understanding how each of the lines of business within the healthcare market, whether that's Medicare, Medicaid, commercial, the cycles typically flow. And so we have a phenomenal benchmark of data, and we build that up client by client to use as a starting point for forecasting. Because a lot of times our health plans are challenged to understand where their forecasts are going to come in. They don't have clear visibility into the sales cycle. So you need a place to start. And so starting and using the benefit of the industry at large and what plans look like within their cohorts really allow us proactively from an account management perspective to come up with models around forecasted volumes. And you have to start somewhere. There's always going to be surprises. Volumes may come in higher, they may come in lower. But generally, plus or minus within some percentage, you're going to be where you need to be. That allows us to start working with the plans to say, okay, this is the starting point. So you can build up the labor models, you can build up the material models that you need, and then you can overplan. And this year was tough with that, right, given the circumstances. But if you start the process early enough, and for us, best practices, that conversation begins in the summer, right? Which, late spring, early summer. And it obviously is an iterative process that you build up from a forecasting perspective over time. And it allows you to get to a place where you can really work as a partner, meaning a service provider like a Clarity and a plan to say, okay, we now have an idea around the forecasted volumes that are going to need to be supported from a communications perspective. Now let's talk about the priorities that need to happen. What lines of business need to precede others? What groups within lines of business need to precede others? And it's a very, very, very complex and well orchestrated process to be successful. And that's the process that we've employed and have placed. Use the data, use that data to build a plan, use that plan to make sure that you are on the same page from a communication expectation perspective, because what's important is that information needs to move forward for our health plans to their market. As soon as they can communicate to their brokers, their sales channels, their prospective groups of when they should start to expect things, that's going to make in open enrollment the difference between a successful one and one that isn't successful. And obviously there's curveballs that happen from time to time, Drew, but if you can have that forecasting and you can have a clear communication plan and then the reporting that shows where you are in that process, from our experience, that's created, the most successful outcomes. And that's why this past year was a large success for us.